And so my mom had this, the American dream of like taking my family away from that and starting something new. And that was scary for her because it was only her that actually moved.
It's the hope for a better future.
Yeah, the hope for a better future, and that you had something better here, and it's not always going to be the same as it was in the Philippines, which is actually kind of a myth because hard work is hard work anywhere you go in the world. You're going to work just the same. Your work ethic is going to be the same. Your drive is going to be the same, maybe even more because you have family back home that's kind of relying on you.
You know, aside from the hard work, and this is where hard work comes from, you learn from your parents, and I know I can speak, the discipline aspect.
Oh, yeah.
The discipline of how to balance your money, how to save, where to put your money into, the discipline of getting up every morning, regardless of whether you're sick, you're tired, you're achy.
Like my parents would always work. I don't remember my mom
there
staying
was
home.
no sick
And if
days.
she stayed home, she was up.
Welcome back to Behind the Strength. I'm Christian.
And I'm Carlo.
And today we have a special guest.
Hey guys, my name is Mar. I'm a trainer and a nutritionist here at Strengthen You.
Today we're going to help you with your health, wealth, and peace of mind. And also, if you have any questions for us from past episodes, if you have any comments, we love to hear about them. And actually, we have podcasts coming up with topics covered from the recent questions that some of you guys have asked.
Yes.
Please email us at
bts@strengthenyou.com. That's Bobby, Terry, Sandy at strength hyphen the letter N hyphen the letter U.com. You would also hit us up on Instagram at strengthenu, STRENGTHNU. Facebook, YouTube, we're all over the place. Thank you for reaching out to us and letting us know that our podcasts have impacted you. We appreciate that shit. Awesome. And please make sure you refer a friend, tell them about it, send them a link, fucking force them in your car and let them listen to this shit. All right?
It's valuable stuff for your life.
Yes, and make sure they follow in. And if you could review our stuff, that would be awesome as well, because the more higher reviewed, the more people will get to listen to us and we'll be in front of more people. So
fantastic. So let's get right into it. Today we have a special guest here, and we're actually going to talk about what it was like to grow up as a first generation immigrant here in Canada.
Yes.
And the lessons that we learned from our parents that we simply apply today that have helped us with our success.
Yeah.
Right?
If you do not know, if you're a listener and you do not know, we are from Philippines. Myself, Christian, and Mar.
Yes.
We all were born in Philippines. Actually, I know we
we're first generation.
First generation. We were born in Philippines, and we're coming here and trying to make a difference. Our parents came and struggled their asses off, and that's why we, part of the reason why we work our asses off now. If you didn't know that, good to know. We're Filipino. Any Filipinos listening, what up?
Shout out.
Shout out to all Filipinos from everywhere. We're from Toronto.
Man, to any immigrant listening,
True.
you know the struggle already.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. When did you get here? How old were you?
So I grew up in the northern part of the Philippines, and I lived in a rural area. So I grew up actually in a farm where there's like chickens and cows and sheep in my backyard. And I grew up there, and I moved here in 2006 when I was just turning 12. So I've already kind of established an identity and who I knew I was, my background was, what my culture was, and everything that I grew up on has already been impacted on me, and I've already grown into it. So when I moved here when I was 12, everything was a culture shock. One, because I moved in September and it was cold as shit.
Oh, yeah.
So it was cold. And in the Philippines, you only know rain or shine, right? And then you move here and the leaves are turning brown and everything is going dead and there's snow on the ground. So that on its own was a culture shock. Another one is I moved into a white predominant area when I lived here. And it was around Yonge and Eglinton at the time. And my family, there's 3 families that lived in a 2-bedroom.
Very common.
Because we just couldn't afford things, and we were starting up new, and it was just my mom who brought us into this new country. And that on its own, that was like your little community. That was the only thing that you had. It was just your family, because you didn't know anybody at the time. And you had no friends because you were only 12.
So your world was in that that apartment?
In that small apartment, and that was all I had. That was all I knew. So I kind of had home brought into here, and then that was the only piece of me that stayed. And everything else started to kind of slowly wipe out because I was getting involved with different cultures and different environments in school.
Because of school. So what? How did your family get here? What was the kind of catalyst? How did your mom get in or dad get in?
The thing that started it was because the lifestyle in the Philippines is very hard. Poverty, corruption, everything else that you could think of was
Yeah.
happening back then. And so my mom had this, the American dream of like taking my family away from that and starting something new. And that was scary for her because it was only her that actually moved.
It's the hope for a better future.
Yeah, the hope for a better future, and that you had something better here, and it's not always going to be the same as it was in the Philippines, which is actually kind of a myth because
Yeah.
hard work is hard work anywhere you go in the world. Whether you are in a poverty or in first world country, you're going to work just the same. Your work ethic is going to be the same. Your drive is going to be the same, maybe even more because you have family back home that's kind of relying on you, right?
Yes.
So the reason why my mom moved out here was because they weren't making enough money to support my brother and I to go to school. And everything in the Philippines is privatized, whereas everything here, in terms of raising your kids, is almost free. Like you have free education, free healthcare.
Yeah.
So my mom thought, okay, I'm gonna bring my family over and we're gonna start brand new. And that's
Wait,
kind of
so
the
wait, education in the Philippines you have to pay for, like elementary
Yeah.
school? Oh, I didn't know that.
struggle. You had to pay for school.
Damn,
Yeah.
that's
And
tough,
your
huh?
healthcare.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
well,
if
I
you-
knew about healthcare, but I
Yes.
didn't know about the schooling
Yeah.
system.
So if
Damn.
you were poor, you're kind of destined to fail.
Yeah, you're not going to school.
really,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
like a lot of third world countries are.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I didn't
If
know
you don't
that,
have the
dude.
money,
Yeah,
you're not going anywhere.
I didn't even think about that.
A lot of places in
But
this world are like
I
that.
think growing up, because my mom always valued that against us, that, hey, we're paying for your education, you need to take it seriously because that's the only thing I can give you. So for me growing up, we took education like it's the gold for us. So if somebody was paying for your education or you were paying for yourself if you were a working child or whatever it might be, you took everything out of you to get the education that you could get.
That makes a lot of sense now. To be
Yeah,
honest
for
with
sure.
you. I didn't understand till now actually.
Yeah, you're
And I
de-
didn't even think about it. They're like, why are Filipinos so fucking obsessed with school? Even
Yeah.
back then, right?
Yeah, of
Because when
course.
I would go back to Philippines, they'd still be so serious
Right.
about it.
It's 'cause
I'm like,
no-
yo,
not
because you're
everybody-
paying for like
You're
if you have
paying for
zero
that.
money and this is like your
Exactly.
investment, like you're
Literally.
you're putting it into the stock market pretty
Yeah,
much. There,
yeah.
like your
Well,
your kid
that's-
is your stock.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
that's
Like,
why, yeah, like a lot of parents will work day and night just to put their kid in
Just
the
to put their
hopes of
kids-
finishing college and
Yeah,
high
yeah.
school, college, and so on to become something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To get a regular paycheck.
Yeah,
'Cause-
and isn't it fucking funny? Like these days, oh, people are talking so much shit about school. Like, oh, education is whack and school is so shit. I'm like, damn,
That's the
dog,
basis
like,
of-
Some people, that's all they
it's-
have.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say if it's like
Because
you know
it's-
what I mean,
it's-
because you
it's
got
free
everything
for
for
you.
free for the last
Exactly.
Yeah.
how long? You know,
Exactly.
you're talking about college. How about elementary school, man? If you had to fucking pay for it, you wouldn't say shit.
You
You,
start-
you probably wouldn't be skipping class and smoking
Oh,
weed after.
definitely.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Definitely not. No.
right?
No.
But I saw that difference when I moved here because obviously I started school right when I landed. It was in September. I went to school and then I saw the work ethic of different kids and how they took advantage of that.
Yeah.
Because, it's free and like they'll pass me anyway. I'll go into the next grade, whatever.
Yes.
And then I was like, that's crap. Because in my culture, it was like, if you're getting a 75, you're failing.
Yes.
And like,
Yeah,
True
very-
say.
and,
True say.
and
better
you
be a
could- and you
98
could-
and
and
above.
you couldn't go ahead and you couldn't move forward and you failed not only yourself but also your
family.
family who's depending on you to be a better kid and have the future and hold everything else, kind of like a breadwinner, right?
So if in elementary school in Philippines, if you didn't pass, you'd be held back.
you would be held back. So you could
Even if
be-
you paid for
even
school.
if you
Let
paid
me
for
tell-
school,
Let me
it
tell you
didn't.
something.
Yeah.
There's a schooling system in Jamaica. They have the top tier of each grade, the top 2 tier move up automatically to the next grade, and the bottom 2 tier of every grade moves down. So it's
No way.
It's
Yeah.
bred as a competition.
Yeah.
So just like they do in track and field, they have the same thing, right?
That's vicious, yo.
They
That's
grade the
savage.
same thing as grade 7,
You
8,
move back.
6. Yeah, you
That's
move
it.
back. If you're at the bottom, you're the 2 bottom kids, you're going back
You're
down.
going back.
And the other 2
Yo, I'll be-
top
But
from the
that's
last
the work
grade,
ethic,
the
man.
Yo,
younger
if I'm
graders
the
go
last
along.
four, if I'm the last 4, I'm fucking around with the last 2, like my competition.
So,
I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna be the dopest.
I'm
you
not
know,
gonna-
and
I'm
Jamaica's
gonna
not the
move up.
only place that does that. There's a lot
That's
of places
pretty
in this
interesting.
world,
Yo,
and
that's
but
interesting.
it breeds competition. It kind of breeds
Yeah.
that will to win.
Do you know if they pay for school in Jamaica as well, like elementary all the way up?
I'm not sure if
That'd be interesting,
100% sure.
Okay.
But I
But
know like a
here's
lot of
interesting.
places in this world, like I know in India, you have to pay for school.
You pay for school too. out
And
of
I'd say
pocket.
about 75% of those people can't pay for school. Like you
Nope.
said, you're destined to fail already.
You're destined to fail if
You're
you're
literally
poor.
born on the street and you're living on the street for the rest of your life.
I'm interested to see if there's a study based on like the IQ level of kids who've gone through like whatever in high school who
Yes.
had to pay through schooling and who didn't.
Oh, yeah.
The average IQ.
Oh, for
That'd be
sure.
very interesting.
For
That'd
sure.
be very interesting, right?
Well, let me ask you something. When you got here, I mean, when you guys got here, how was your English already?
You got here.
Yeah, when I got here, my English, honestly, my English started out by asking for water and ordering stuff from like takeout places and like
Oh,
McDonald's
shit hasn't changed.
shit hasn't changed. I'm still doing that.
That's why you're so good at it.
I'm still good at it.
My English was very bad.
How was your English?
I could not speak a sentence when I moved here because
Full out accent.
yeah, full out
blown.
accent, couldn't speak, couldn't construct a proper sentence, but I could write and read because we learned English as a second language in the Philippines.
And to be honest with you,
So-
a lot of the people that come here with their reading and writing,
It's
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 full
good,
blown.
yeah.
It's better. It's better.
Their
Yeah.
grammar is amazing. Their spelling is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just could not speak it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How
for
difficult was that to communicate with people?
well, it was hard. Like I said, moved to a white predominant place in Toronto. So when I went to school, like literally, I could understand all my classmates, all my teachers, and I wanted to say things so badly and react so badly to things, but I'm like, oh wait, how do I say that in English? Like,
Yeah.
I could not.
And how
was-
it comes out.
Yeah,
it
and
was-
and you feel so embarrassed because everyone has, you know, like the English way of saying things, and
Yeah.
You
you
have an accent.
always had like a weird sound, and you didn't want to be like, oh, that kind of sounds bad. But over time, I think
Sorry, what grade were you in?
I was in 6th grade.
Sixth grade. Oh yeah, 6
Yeah,
years. Yeah.
and
that's-
you know, people have
They
their
become
own friends.
assholes at
Yeah,
that
they become
time, too.
assholes all the time. So
grade 6 is bad.
like, do I join that group? Like, will they understand me? What about this group? Right?
So what in your school was there a lot of immigrants as well, or was it white people?
Not
like,
so
what's-
many. I could probably count the colored kids in one hand.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, at
Well,
the
that's
time.
Young and Eglinton, right? Like
I don't know that
Where
area
I grew up
pretty
in
much.
East Stroke and where you grew up in Flemington Park, and like there was a lot of immigrant kids
Yeah, it was great.
coming in. People coming in from
it
Sri
was-
Lanka,
yeah,
India,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the Philippines. So a lot of places, even South
Poland,
America at
even
that time.
even Europe
Poland,
too. Yeah,
Europe,
Poland.
a
There's a
lot,
lot of Polish
Italians,
people.
yeah.
Yep.
But you know,
Arabics.
for sure. But it was a lot tougher to be in a predominantly white neighborhood, and people who are, you know, have been raised here in Canada and the Canadian way.
But
it's
I
very
think
tough.
it's tough, but also I think that's one of the reasons how I got to speak English well, because I had no other choice. I had to conform to whatever way they were saying things and whatever culture they were trying to like show me.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think, you know, a lot of people who don't make that effort or who stay within their community and don't really want to perfect English,
Right.
I think they give in to that pressure, like, oh shit, I'm embarrassed, I don't want to talk
Yeah.
to regular people, so I'm going to stick within my comfort zone.
Well, here's
you
the
gotta
thing.
step out of
So
it.
here's
Yeah.
the thing. Here's a big thing because we were just talking about this before we went live, and you had actually moved sooner or later and
Yeah.
to where was
Yeah.
it? To where?
So then a year later, because we still lived in this really small apartment, we moved to another apartment, which is just slightly bigger to fit all 11 of us in one room. We moved to, yeah, I know, struggle. But we moved to Bathurst and Finch, which is predominantly Filipino.
Yeah.
So when I moved in there, I was like, oh my God, like there's people that look like me and like people I can relate to. So then I started to feel like the community is there and that the support is there, even when you've only been in the country for less than 2 years.
But you did kind of break yourself out of that because a lot of people they'll start to join their own group with their
Right.
own, like, you know, my own countrymen, my own country people, and I'm just gonna stick there. My English never gets
Yeah,
better.
nope.
My surroundings never get any better.
Yeah.
And my span of knowledge doesn't get anywhere
No.
except for this
No.
culture.
Yeah.
Because that's all you're ever gonna know if you don't ever try to step out.
But you actually did
but
try
I
to
did,
step
yes.
out. I mean, I know
Yeah.
we definitely
We
did.
had
and we
to.
kind of
We
had
had
to.
We had to, yeah.
We were in a mixed neighborhood, like neighborhoods, right? You had a lot
Oh,
of
yeah, it
people
was
from the
great.
Caribbean. You had people from Africa, India. You were exposed.
Like from that moment I landed here, like you just get punched in the face with so much different things.
For sure.
And to land in a neighborhood, Flemington Park, Don Mills, Eglinton, and you start seeing the kids around there, I'm like, okay, shit, we're all different here.
Yeah.
Which is, I
Which is
I
an-
didn't understand it, but that's such an advantage, man.
It is. It really
it's such
is.
an advantage because now,
I
like,
saw it
there's no
later
sense
on
of
growing
racism
up.
there. It's like, but the thing is, everybody was racist against each other in their like own fun way, right?
Yeah.
But everybody, like, I don't care what anybody says, man. Colored people are some of the most freaking judgmental people on the planet.
Oh, of course they are.
But when you're a kid, you talk a lot of shit to each other, right?
Yes.
That's how you start understanding and befriending each
That's
other.
how you kind of
You
understand
make fun
each
of your
other.
differences.
Yeah, because
you
you're
know?
kind of like, hey, you know what? You look different, but I
Yeah.
look different.
I look different.
yeah, you know what? You have that kind of food, and I have this kind of food. Actually, let's
Yeah.
get to that for a second.
Yeah.
What
And
about
it's more
lunches?
accepted. Oh
Yeah,
my
it's more
God.
What about
accepted.
lunches?
So
Like,
you never want to bring it out because it smelled bad or
Yes.
like.
Like, what
Or
would you
different.
pack?
It was,
What
it
was
smelled
different?
bad.
But what would
It
you
smelled
pack?
great.
So what did you- what
But
did you
not,
pack?
not to
bad
the
for like
not-
other people,
yeah,
you know.
not-
But
like
for me,
rice
man,
and-
I would just sinigang and like you have like soup coming out of your
Oh,
lunch
man, that's
bag. And it's
delicious.
like, whoa, why do you have soup coming out of your
With
bag?
rice and everything?
Yeah,
That's
sometimes
true,
it would
yeah.
spill in your bag and you're like, oh shit, like what am I gonna do?
Oh, that's the worst.
That's the worst. But
That is horrible.
you know what? Like then, obviously, I was like, because people were different than me, you would get looked at, and you didn't want to be looked at the time.
And
but
they start calling you
Yeah.
a certain
And-
name,
yeah.
and yo, kids are mean, man.
yo,
like
they
they
call
are
you
mean.
ching chong, like yo, what the heck? But
Yeah. Wrong race.
I know, but
But
that's
it's,
what
but
I'm
it's,
saying. Like
but
that's
it's,
the general
but it's the
thing,
ignorance
right?
for
Yeah.
sure. It's the ignorance for sure. You're gonna get a lot of that.
Yeah.
But colored people would talk shit the same way though, because
Same
they
way,
don't
yeah.
know, right? It's not like we know as a kid that your food was different.
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
dude, for the longest time, my friend who's Arabic, I thought he was fucking white the whole time, and like Lebanese, Lebanese.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it was grade 8. He was like, "Yo, I'm Lebanese." I'm like, "What the fuck? I didn't know you're Lebanese, bro. You eat the whitest food ever." And like,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
didn't know until like I guess his family was around. They started speaking different language. I'm like, dude,
Right.
this whole time I thought you were white. This is crazy. But as
Yeah,
a
for
kid,
sure.
You'll never
like
know.
you will never know, and you're gonna judge other kids based on the shit that you
and
currently
you can't
know.
Even see,
It's
like, European to you back then was like, oh, they're white, but
Yeah.
it's not like
Yeah.
It's
they're
different.
European.
Yeah.
And there's
I
different
mean-
types of Europeans.
But I mean, it's there's a fine line between hey, let's have fun with what she's doing, and actually like bullying her and be like,
Bullying,
yo, you're a fucking weirdo. You shouldn't exist, right? There's a fine line between that.
Yeah, it's tough because also like not only do you have to fit into this new culture, but you kind of have to leave your old one behind, your old friends, your family, and you're trying to re-identify who the hell you are.
Well,
It's tough.
Yeah, at that age, it was probably hard for me to understand because I was really young.
Yes.
But then when I got to high school, I understood it better because my mom would always tell me stories about why we had to move here and why we have to be here rather than being back home. Because
So did
when-
you know what you were moving? You knew you guys
I
were
knew
gonna
I was
move.
moving, but I
Okay.
never wanted to move.
Oh, you didn't want to
Yes.
move. Oh, interesting.
So this is like a kind of like a weird phase in my life because in 6th grade, I never wanted to leave home because I was comfortable there. And it was everything I knew. And moving to a whole new country that you never even knew or like know nothing about, that's fucking scary.
Yeah, that's scary.
And like you're
100%.
gonna leave your friends, you're gonna leave your school that you're used to. So it was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But I had no choice. I had to go here. So at first I was resilient to everything and I hated everything. And then I started to realize why it was made for me. And that was something that I took advantage of and kind of like thought too privileged to even recognize. But now I realize that the choices that our parents made for us are for us for a reason and not because like they think that our choices don't matter. I think our parents made those tough choices in order for us to be where we are right now. And like at first you might, maybe not agree with them for the choices that they've made, but as I got older, that's when I realized I was taking too much of an advantage of the sacrifice that they've made.
Yeah, you didn't really
Yeah.
like
didn't
until you're a bit
appreciate it.
older.
Yeah, you didn't appreciate it.
You
until-
kind of was like,
Especially-
"Fuck,
until I'm
mom,
older.
why did you do this to me? Why are we here?" Yeah,
Especially when you have to start getting up for your own workplace
Yeah,
and your own
exactly.
full-time job.
Yeah.
You
and,
start
and
to
how hard
appreciate
it
all
is
that.
to even
Yeah.
succeed as a person who's been here for a while.
And now you're paying
And-
your
yeah.
own rent, your
Yeah.
own insurance, your
Yeah,
own car bill.
everything.
You're like, oh man, okay,
Well,
I
because-
get it.
Yeah, because when
And
I
then you
was
got to
in-
raise children. Holy crap!
Because
Yeah.
when I was in the Philippines, I thought, oh, my mom and my aunts, they're living their life in Canada, and like we're living like a shit life here. And then I moved here, and I was like, there's no way. We are just working just as hard
Yeah.
all the
exactly.
time.
Hold on, so
And I
your
don't
mom was
fit
here
in.
first. Your
Yes,
mom was
my
here
mom
first.
came here first. She
and
lived
then-
by herself
oh,
for 5 years without us.
5 years.
Yeah,
That's
so-
a long
son.
time.
Yeah. So
That's
for,
a long time.
For most immigrants, it's like that.
It is like that.
Yeah, you have
And
one
you know
parent.
what?
So you guys
and
too?
those, no, not me.
Okay.
And but those are very because I know a lot of people that's happened with, and
Yeah.
those are very formative years, and they can really screw up a person.
Yeah.
You're living.
Jeff's family did the same
Yeah,
thing.
because
Yeah.
the person feels. One, agree
Yeah.
with me or not, there's a sense of abandonment at
Yeah,
the
for
end
sure.
of the day.
And
because
like,
you don't
my mom
understand
doesn't
they're
know
trying
this.
to.
Sorry, mom, if you're listening. But when I moved here, I didn't recognize my mom.
Really?
Because she left me when I was 5. And I
Yeah,
came back and
that's-
saw her when I was 12. So
Yeah.
at first, I didn't know who my mom was.
course.
And like
That's
the only way
insane.
of our communication, like, I mean, FaceTime wasn't alive
No,
then. So
no. Letters?
I wrote letters to my mom. And
Right.
they never got back until like 2 months later, 3
Of
months
course,
later.
'cause- yeah.
So I kind of lost like my vision of who my mother was.
But she didn't take a picture of herself,
Well, I mean,
man.
she took
Like there's a
pictures,
camera.
yeah, there's
Draw a
cameras,
picture of yourself.
But man, I was 5.
But
what
you
do
know,
I
you're coming from
right?
somebody that
Yeah.
from a child that you're supposed to see your parents every day.
all the time.
Well, that
yeah.
energy too, that
Energy,
motherly,
exactly,
yeah,
that motherly,
yeah,
that can really screw a person up.
But then when you
good
when
for
you,
you for getting
yeah,
out of that,
and then
eh?
when you move here, so then the first few like years you kind of resent it. Like, why am I here? I'd rather
And
stay
especially
home.
you resent them,
exactly,
yeah.
right? And then you grow up, and then you realize everything has to have a sacrifice for some things to work.
So perfect. Let's gear into to another gear a part of this segment here. So I want to talk about actually the lessons that we learned that we took from our parents, that we have applied and are applying today, from being the first generation. So let's talk about some things. Number one, I want to talk about like hard work. I mean, you put that out there. What did we learn about what did you guys learn about hard work? I mean, from watching your own parents.
Bro, like the reason why I am where I am today or who I am today is because of my parents, and my family in general, man. They hustle. Like my dad, my parents, not even for coming to Philippines. Okay, so they're both nurses, right? They fell and they came through that avenue, the nursing whole thing, yeah. So they both work 12-hour days. So when we were kids, one would work the morning shift and one would work the night shift. So we would come and take the bus with them because we didn't have a car. We would bus all the way down to St. Michael's from Fleming Park. It'd be an hour each way, and then we would bus all the way back on the same next train coming back home. So we would spend 2 hours every night switching with my parents, and then 5 years later, 6 years later, my parents, after still being RN registered nurses, they went back to school to become ICU nurses. So my dad was like working and then studying and working and then studying, getting zero fucking sleep. I still remember the arguments and us like being little assholes and making so much noise and not realizing what was happening. And then they they both graduated. So one went first, and then the other did it after because they saw.
Yeah, of course. One has to watch and take care, and yeah.
And then looking back, and I'm like, holy shit, man! Working 12-hour days plus
Doing
going to school,
plus 2 children,
plus 2 fucking little assholes. Me and my brother, yo, when we were younger,
Yeah,
like
of course.
we never shut up. So and now every time I think about that, every time I think about like any pressures here or working, like. I think my parents. I'm like, fuck that. Like, who the fuck am I? Who the fuck am I to complain about anything?
Yeah.
Like, I look at my parents. I'm like, yo, like, I need to be better than these motherfuckers. Like, I'm in competition with what the fuck they did for me.
Because like watching my parents make that move from the Philippines to here is, and to work yourself from a 0 point or a minus. You're actually at a minus point now.
Yeah,
because
you're
all the
not
money
at
that
zero,
you
you're
did,
at minus.
You're at minus.
Yeah.
So to see them work from minus into the positives. And you guys know what it feels like to grow. First, you're in a house full of people.
Yep.
Then you're in an apartment on your own, but the apartment's empty. You don't have a couch. You don't have a bed. You don't. And
You start
week to week,
adding little things.
week to
Add
week,
things,
you
yeah.
see a little. You see a
Just
little
add
coffee
on, add
table.
on, yeah.
You see a little, a telephone. You see.
Bro,
we
we
got
had-
to
we-
see that shit.
We had hospital bed sheets for the longest time.
We got
for,
to see
for
that.
bed sheets
And
because my parents would get it from hospital.
Aside from the hard work, and this is where hard work comes from, you learn from your parents, and I know I can speak, the discipline aspect.
Oh, yeah.
The discipline of how to balance your money, how to save, where to put your money into, the discipline of getting up every morning, regardless of whether you're sick, you're tired, you're
Yo,
achy.
my parents hardly took sick days. I don't like when I
My
when
mom
I
was sick and
same,
would come to
sick,
work.
right?
Like,
Like my
it's not a
parents would
question.
always work. I don't remember my
No,
mom
there
staying
was
home.
no sick
And if she
days.
stayed home, she was fucked up.
Yeah.
Like she
Like
like she
completely.
couldn't wait.
It was like-
she couldn't see light.
Yeah.
Like that's how crazy my parents were because they had to
Yeah.
work.
They
man.
had to work.
Yes.
Right. So same thing. That's why like, and the one of the craziest things that I just realized now what my mom specifically did was every time at dinner she would tell us stories about what happened in the Philippines, how all the struggles, how hard it was for her specifically to be in sometimes my dad's family to be part of that. And by herself, because my parents were both from different parts of the Philippines, and as a sacrifice, because she had us, she moved over
had
to
to move.
my dad's like little hometown, province town, like cows and all that shit. Like, dude, it was rundown house. So the pressures there for my grandma, who is a fucking badass, like strong-headed woman. Like this is why I don't really understand. Like I can't relate to all these like women not being like I grew up in a house full of strong women. Like the Lola, like in our culture, the Lola is like the strongest fucking foundation, right? So to always hear stories growing up at every dinner time, my mom telling me how hard shit was and stuff like that. I always thought she was just complaining. Like I was like, Mom, stop fucking complaining. We're here. But it made me realize like it's always to remind us, myself and my brother, to always be thankful and to be grateful for every single occasion, you know, because and to show like, holy shit, look, I'm here. We're eating. We have a house on our own or an apartment on our own.
Clothes on your back.
And these are the things that we have to go through to get there.
You know, I think that's a big lesson that he just nailed it on the head, is being grateful. I think we learned that that lesson from your parents.
You learn it so young.
You know, from not wasting the food, the food
finish
you
the
eat,
plate,
you finish it, or just to be appreciative of what's going on in front of you right now, because you could be in a war-torn country right now. There has been a lot of political, or you can just be taken away. Hey, let's face it. Where you're from in the Philippines and in many parts of the world, a lot of people are sold off as children. They're sold off into the sex trade. They're sold off into the into the factories to work, all because the family has to provide for the rest of the family, right?
Yeah,
so
some messed up decisions.
Some messed up shit.
Yeah, some messed up decisions.
All stuff that we can all turn a blind eye to, but no matter what, it happens every single day.
Every day, yeah.
And so to be appreciative and thankful is a great gift that we have, and I guess learning that from our parents. Another thing tied into that, and I guess you guys have been speaking about it all podcast long, is I like to use the word grit. It's that grittiness. It's what's I know your story of fighting through school just to get your recent certifications in your schooling, right? What you've had to go through there.
Like my mom works 16-hour shifts sometimes, so she would go from 7 a.m. all the way to like 11 p.m. I would never see her. She would never see me, but we knew that we were doing things together. And that's because we needed to achieve something completely that...
It was a greater goal than yourself.
And you had to have that grit. You had to have that discipline within you in order to achieve something. Because I'm not going to let my mom down. She's working 16 hours a day and I'm going to slack off. Like that's something that I never grew up even just knowing.
Yeah. That's why when people talk all this shit about work-life balance, I'm like, homie, I don't think you understand how the fuck I grew up.
Like you
don't like work-life balance. What am I like? I didn't make it yet. You know what I mean? Like my parents never had work-life balance. I'm trying to retire them. I don't need work-life balance right now. Maybe that's for like my kid or their kids later on. But there is no work-life balance. You know that was the work-life balance that I was trying to achieve. You know.
You just kind of it's funny how well this is flowing into one after the other, because you kind of just mentioned it right now, and that's what they had, what our parents had. First of all, to be able to move and to expect all this thing in a new land, you have to be able to dream. They have to be able to dream. From that, watching that, I believe we've all had to be able to dream and to be able to find our own dream and to make it reality. So through watching them, we've watched them set goals, set a timeline. I need to have my own apartment by this. Right, I'm gonna dream for a future that my daughter or my son is gonna have better schooling than I will. And they'll have better education. They'll have a better job.
It's not even about like fulfilling your parents' dream. That's what other people think. It's about like, it's so many people have for yourself, and like, am I gonna be able to attain something bigger than what I can achieve?
Amen.
Right?
Yes.
Guys, I remember one time. Speaking of goals, like, my parents. They're doing pretty well, right? They're RN nurses at this point. We're still living in Fleming Park. We had owned our apartment at this point. And I remember they wanted to get a house, and I didn't know anything about it. I just heard about it, and just maybe once or twice. But I remember we had a Toyota 4Runner. We had a pretty decent car. You know when like you have a cool car, and your friends want to go to ball practice, and they want to come in your car. I'm like, yeah, this is sick. Like my friends want to actually go my car, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember all of a sudden it broke down, and then my parents got this fucking ugly ass old Pontiac 6000, right? It was an old Pontiac 6000. Yes. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yo, are we getting more poor again? Are we like, what's
we poor
happening
now?
here,
Like,
yo? Like, you just bought this car for $200. That's not cool. What the fuck? It was pretty cool because there was like the 3-seater in the front, so 3 people could be in the front. Like there's no thing.
The bigger boat,
now, you know what I'm talking about. A white rusted 6000. And I didn't know this, but my parents were like, yeah, we had to save all our money because we wanted to buy a house. So at that point, like,
Having the cool flashy car isn't.
No, it's not about that.
That's not
Let's
about that.
cut back, and this because I want you guys. We want to get out of here. I want, like our dream was to buy a house. So the house that we have now, that's what happened. Like they saved all their fucking money.
That's awesome.
Like
man.
for years and years, I
Yeah.
didn't understand. Like, yo, are we not moving up in life right now? You know, because your Filipino parents don't talk about finances with their kids, and they don't show anything. You could be, they could act like they have no money, but they have tons like
Tons
saved
of-
away,
yeah.
right? And that's why I learned too. Like, don't talk about your shit, you know, and just do
work.
it. Just
Yeah,
work.
just work.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, holy shit! When they said we got a house, I was like, where the fuck did we get all
this
this money
money?
to get this house?
But you didn't
What the
realize
hell?
there was
Like-
that Pontiac 6000
had-
doing it
yeah.
all along.
That, yeah.
So that made me realize, like, okay, that's why, yo, you know, I don't buy shit.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure,
like
man.
the ability to hold back on your stupid things, on your necklaces, jewelry, dumb shit for your ultimate goal. That's where I got that from.
That's where it all comes together.
You get
The
what I mean?
discipline, the dreaming, the
Yeah.
goal setting,
Like-
and the actual doing, the grittiness
and
of
the
doing
grittiness
it.
and sticking
Yeah,
to the
sticking to
plan,
it.
like
no
sticking
matter how
to the
shitty it looks on
plan.
the outside. Like,
Dude, that's the
it.
number one thing. Stick to the, like, look at the plan that your mom set out 5 years ago before that to get you there.
To get me
And
there.
then what was the plan after? Like, you get what I mean? That's nuts. The laser focus that these guys had to have, the discipline.
It's literally
every single
Things that
day.
we learn.
It's literally the term of by any means necessary. There was
100%.
nothing stopping me from getting there. Their dreams, again, you said, like Ed Milet says, we're not for sale.
They were not for sale.
And we've learned to
No.
adapt that for ourselves. It's not for sale.
No.
And it's by any means necessary that say we're going to succeed in what we want to do. And I'm
Yes.
not to say that you're going to have the biggest house on the block or you're going to have the biggest bank account, but in whatever it is you're choosing to succeed in, whatever field you may be in or whatever you decide to take upon, you take the grittiness and you grind that shit out till you get the result that you're after.
Like, till this day, my mom, she's so cute, man. She would like buy fake jewelry. Like, oh, look, it's so nice. I'm like,
Yeah.
Ma, come on, buy yourself something nice. Like, Jesus Christ, you know, you deserve it. Just buy like real necklaces or real fucking earrings one time. But she's still like frugal about everything. Like, she'll shop at fucking
Yeah.
at like thrift stores.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
For
Mom,
like $5
stop
for
that
glasses.
shit. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. Like, yo, you're like, we're out of the house. You don't have
Yeah.
to buy me shit
Yeah.
anymore. Just
Yeah.
buy yourself something nice.
Yeah.
But still,
They
to that
still
day,
won't.
it's
Still
like
won't.
in their head, just like us, man. Like, when you have zero money and you start making it a little bit, you're still in that mind frame of
Yeah.
like, yo, I don't want to waste this opportunity.
Yeah.
Still, like, I work so hard for this money, I'm not gonna fucking waste it on dumb shit.
You know, that's I guess something like to close off is that all the things that we've learned to really value what you do have in life. And well, I'm not talking about the material goods. It's you learn to value these things that you've learned. So such as the discipline, you learn to value the people that are in your life. You learn to value the family and your friends and the ability to be able to communicate. It's those things from all these years of growing up in such an environment or in a totally different culture, I think is where we kind of all meet together is that value of who I am right now and where I came from.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's a big thing that we all share. And if for anybody listening to this, I'm sure if you are a first generation or second generation, if you watch your parents, if you even heard your parents' story, it's very real. Everything we spoke about here is very real. And I think that to sum it up, all the things that we did learn from our parents make us that much more grateful to be who we are and what we're doing. And
Yeah.
that's why we can give value to people.
Yeah.
This is why we can pass lessons on. We can train, you know, the crap out of people and see them through their hardships because we've gone through them. We're going through them. But, you know, we have these lessons to back us up.
Yeah, and even my mom telling that story every single day to us at nighttime during dinner. I still remember, just to close this off, like me being Filipino and an immigrant Filipino and not speaking Filipino. That's a fucked up thing. Do you speak Filipino?
Not really.
Okay, I don't know how to speak Filipino, right? So elementary school, I still remember from my whole time in elementary school, I was never accepted as a Filipino from the people who came from Philippines.
Yes, same.
Did you get that?
Yeah, same.
Right?
I got it because they're like, oh, they called you
You're
bacon.
bacon. But they don't realize, like, dog,
I was born in
I
the
was born there.
Philippines. I just can't-
I was hustling donuts on the street too.
Yeah, I
homie.
can't
Like,
speak.
that was me. So that right there, that reaffirmed every night. It was like, okay, I am Filipino. Like, we come
Yes.
from, you know, there is deep culture there. I don't need to listen to all these motherfuckers. You know what I mean? And to all those motherfuckers who talk shit, where you at now? I'm doing more for the Filipino community than you motherfuckers.
Anyway, If
some
you
anger in
have
there.
any comments about this, please engage with us. Like, just you know, give us any suggestions you may have. Anything that, any comments, any questions about being an FOB.
FOB.
Fresh
And,
off
and
the
you don't have to
boat.
be Filipino. You could be anything,
It could
man.
be anything, anything.
I'm
Please,
pretty
actually,
sure.
you know what? Please share some of your stories because we love like hearing that stuff.
Yeah, man. That'd be sick.
You could email us at
BTS@strengthenyou.com. That's Bobby Terry Sandy at strength hyphen the letter N hyphen the letter U.com.
and where else can they find us?
Instagram at strengthenyou, STRENGTHNU. Hit us up, DM us, check out our stuff. We have some cool information. Mars on that right now. She has a
Siam.
beginner plyometric video.
Check it
coming.
out. Jumping styles. Let's
Jumping
go.
styles. She's a baller, by the way. She's a cool athlete.
Yeah, amazing coach, by the way. You've got some of
Thank
the
you.
best
Oh,
teams in
by the
Ontario.
way, and a hustler. The reason why she got a job here is because she hit me up on Instagram. And
Yo,
asked,
don't say that so loud.
oh, yeah, don't hit me up on Instagram
yeah,
anymore.
maybe not. Yeah,
But
I mean,
she hustled, you know.
but
so-
that's another thing that I learned from my parents. Like, go after what you want, even if it sounds stupid to you or to some other people. Like, this is the owner of Strength in You, and I hit him up on DM.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, I want this job. Like, take me in. Like, I'll work for free.
And
Like,
she
I'll
did.
learn
And she
for
did.
free.
And she did.
Yeah,
And she did.
I was like, I want to be in this company. And, like,
she
I
did.
just wanted to prove that. So, like, even if it sounds stupid, as much as hitting up your boss on Instagram,
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, like, do it up.
Awesome.
And look
it.
at you now. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Cheers.
See you next time.